How to deal with fear while manifesting, because no one wants to feel uncomfortable or unworthy just because they are manifesting something that they truly desire. And this is why I find it so important to know how to deal with fear or anxiety, resistance, or any sort of negative emotions that come up, so that you can free yourself from these limitations and create and live a life that is more happy, fulfilling, and with a sense of worthiness for all the good things. I am in no way a fan of suppressing or ignoring the negative emotions. So this is not about not feeling the fear. This is not about trying to not be fearful, trying to not feel anxiety. Because if these limitations are already programmed in your mind, they are going to come up. Now, therefore, the initial goal is not to pretend it's not there or to just not feel the fear or whatever. It's about dissolving it so that you really truly become free from it and not have to be dealing with it over and over again. Because when you suppress and ignore the problem, what you do in reality is that you save it for later. Because if the problem is there, it's going to come up. So the goal is to solve the problem. So therefore, it's very important to be aware that the negative emotion is there. A lot of people have become so used to feeling the negative emotions that they initially might not even notice or be aware that it's there, because it has become so familiar to feel uncomfortable that it's just normal. It's just the way it is. It's the same way with negative thoughts. For beginners who just become aware of thoughts creating and keeping a mental diet, etc., when they start paying attention to their thoughts, it's always a shock of about how many negative thoughts they actually have. It's like that for everyone, I think, for everyone who starts. But then you cleanse it. You go through a cleansing process, and after a while you notice that there are less negative thoughts in your head. There are less negative stories. There are less negative stories about yourself. You start loving yourself more, being more confident. Now it goes the same way with the emotions. If an emotion is there, it's going to be triggered. So, and fear is an emotion. And it's not always big things like fear of dying, or which can be the case, of course. But whatever it is, even the smaller things, like for example, for many of my clients, it has been the fear of contacting their specific person, which objectively speaking is no big deal, right? What's the worst thing that can happen? No one is going to die. But if you're the person that is feeling the anxiety of if you have to contact the person and they might reply something not so nice, or the fear of rejection, it doesn't feel good at all, and it can feel like the world crumbling. And yes, someone looking on from the outside can think like, okay, no big deal. Find a better person. That's not how it works, by the way. I have a video that talks about dating advice like that just don't really work. I'm going to put it up here somewhere if you want to watch it. But in any case, whatever the anxiety is that you feel about the situation that you're manifesting, first thing you need to do, or actually don't want to do, is to not take action on it. There's this idea that feel the feel and do it anyway. It might work for some people in some situations, but I am not so much for taking action, especially from a state of fear, because of the way manifestation works, because of the way the law of assumption works. And we need to remember that it's law. It's a law like gravity. It doesn't stop working, or it doesn't work here and there. It works always. The law of assumption works like this. Whatever you assume is going to be manifested in your reality. So even taking action from not from a place of fear is not going to be very helpful for your manifestation, because it's not because of the action you take that something happens. It's because of the assumption that you have that something happens. And when you take action from the place of fear, whatever assumption that you have that is creating the fear is going to be manifested. So therefore, there's a huge risk that your experience from that action taken from the place of fear is not going to be pleasant. The risk is that it's going to be something that reinforces your fear, or reinforces the assumption that creates the fear, which can be lots of things. It is different from person to person. It can be a feeling of not being worthy that then creates a fear of rejection, because for some reason I am not good enough for this person, so therefore they are going to reject me, and it feels horrible. If you are taking action from that state, again, the risk is that the response, the experience that you get, the response from the 3D that you get, is going to reinforce the belief that's already there. So not helpful. And I know that there are people out there, also coaches, that say, well, if you don't want to text them, then if you were in a relationship and if everything worked out great, if you were in your end goal, you would text them and not worry that they wouldn't reply, etc. That's true. But then again, if you're having the fear, it already means that you're not in your end goal, because in your end goal, if you are manifesting a relationship, you don't feel the fear. You feel comfortable, you feel safe, and you feel loved, and fill in the blank, whatever you are actually manifesting with that relationship. That is what you want to be working on, not forcing yourself to take action because that is what you would do if you were in a relationship. When you are living from the end, from the feeling state of your end goal, you don't question your actions. Your actions come from that state. And that is why it's so important that you work with your state. You work with your feelings and with your mind, with your thoughts, with whatever is going on, with whatever story that you keep entertaining. That needs to be changed if you are having negative emotions about the situation. And there are different ways you can go about it. One of the ways is trying to understand, what is it exactly that you feel? Is it feel of rejection? What's the worst thing that could happen, for example, in this case, if you texted that person and the worst case scenario happened? What would it be? That, for example, that they would be rude to you, reject you, ignore you. Why would they ignore you? Why do you think that you're not good enough to get a loving, kind response? Is it because you just generally don't feel good enough? You're not pretty, you're not interesting, you're not... What are you not? You think that is the reason that they would be rude to you. That is your limiting belief that you need to work on. The same thing can go with money, for example. I also hear an advice around money that I think needs to be said. Please don't go out and force yourself to spend money if you have anxiety around money, just to prove to universe that you are actually rich. This is something that I hear, and it's really absurd if you think about how the law of assumption actually works, because again, people get this advice that, oh, if you were rich, you wouldn't think about the price tag or whether you can afford it or not. You would just be happy and fulfilled and safe and just spend the money, buy the thing, do it for yourself, make it as an act of love, self-love, etc. True, but if you're already having the anxiety, chances are, or the risk is that, again, your experience is going to just reinforce whatever belief that you already have. So please don't, again, if you feel uncomfortable with spending the money and you already have anxiety and you're trying to manifest more money and you want to force yourself to buy luxurious stuff to make yourself feel that you are wealthy and have an abundance of money, etc. in your life, that's not where you want to start. That is where you are going, but you want to start with the self, with whatever is going on inside your imagination. Again, try to understand, what is this anxiety about? Do I feel like I don't have money? I don't have enough money. I just inherently don't have enough money. That is what you want to, that is your limiting belief, and that is what you want to change. That is a story. Do you fear that if you keep spending money, then you're just going to have less and not have enough? Money is going to end at some point. That is what you want to work on. That is the story you want to change. You want to create stories in your mind that make you feel safe and comfortable and know that money is going to come to you, or already comes to you. You already have the money. You are worthy of being rich. You are worthy of living a fulfilled and abundant life. There can be a ton of self-concept involved in stuff like this. So instead of taking action to prove something to universe, etc., that's not how it works. By the way, you are the universe. The law works from your own mind. It's your assumptions that are going to manifest. So therefore, you want to have good, solid assumptions that are helpful for you. Instead of the assumption that it's just hard to make money, you're not talented enough to make money, you just don't have enough money, etc. You need to turn that story around that says the opposite, that you are worthy, that you are talented, that you have money-making ideas if that's what you want to create, or you just have the money. And that is then going to be your experience, and the act of spending the money is going to come natural to you, because then that's going to be from the state of having it. So don't force any action while dealing with fear and anxiety. It's not going to be helpful for you. Deal with the feeling itself and the thoughts behind it. Change the story, because the new story is then going to be manifested in your reality, and also change the way that you act. Never focus on taking action. Always focus on your inner world, your beliefs, your fears, your negative stories, and change that around. And okay, I don't mean to say focus on the negative stories. You don't want to keep the focus on negative stories. You want to be aware that they are there. You want to be aware that the negative emotions are also there. Deal with them, work on them, change them, and then everything else will fall into place. So first thing, don't ignore the problem, because ignoring the problem is going to make you suppress the problem, and that just means keeping it for later. It's going to come up. Problems don't just disappear. And this is why, I have had clients in their 40s, 50s who were dealing with limiting beliefs that were created, years ago, 20, 30 years ago, for some in their childhood. If you don't change the story is not going to change itself. This is why time doesn't heal. Time just makes you forget consciously. Your conscious mind is going to forget some things, but your subconscious doesn't. It stays there. At some point it's going to be triggered and create a mess. Small, big. We don't want any of it. So when the problem comes up, make sure you deal with it, because when you do, you actually free yourself from it. That is where you free yourself from the problem. It's not going to happen again and again and again when it's dissolved. When a problem is dissolved, you replace it with a story that you actually want to experience. And when that story solidifies in your mind, that is going to be on autopilot, and that is the life that we all want to live. Good things manifesting on autopilot, but it doesn't happen on its own. We need to do the work. And we will do the work, right? You do it for yourself. You do it for your own comfort. You do it for your own happiness. And if you're happy, everyone around you is happy. And no, I don't mean to say to do it for others. You can manifest anything for others, but first of all, manifest it for you, for your own happiness. Because again, when you are happy, if you are a parent or a partner, you are going to be better able to create happiness for everyone around you when you are happy. So it starts with you. You want your loved ones to be happy, but again, it starts with you. It starts with your inner world, in your imagination, with your stories. So please don't ignore the problems. Solve them. You can do it. Lots of people have done it. You can too. Solve them and get rid of them once and for all. And start creating better stories for you, better assumptions, and therefore also better physical experiences. That is the law. And we need to play by its rules, you know. So if you like this video, and if you like videos like this where I explain how you work with your imagination to create specific outcomes, and in a simple way, in a very practical way, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let's spread this message, and see you in the next video.